always remember when you talk to anybody on the military side, one of the things they always overlook is there is no military organization in Asia, none, that has the actual training and combat experience of the armed forces of the Philippines. Why? Because they've been fighting an internal insurgency for, I don't know, what is it, 50, 60 years? And so they've been able to use their equipment. They've had training. They've worked with the United States. They've been in actual combat situations. And that is a different ball game than the Ukrainian armed forces, than the Han Chinese with the PLA or the PLAN. So if the bad situation develops, I think we're going to find that uh, our ally in the Philippines is going to provide some surprising pushback.
Now, China has territorial disputes with a lot of its neighbors, but it seems it's really focusing on the Philippines. Is this the reason China is going after the Philippines, that they see their potential as a threat?
Yeah, I think, Chris, that China is going after the Philippines as an alternative to punching through into the Pacific from Taiwan. And the reason I say that is that over the last, I would say 20, 30 years, the Philippine drug cartels, I mean, not Philippine, but the PLA and the Chinese have been flooding the southern Philippines with drugs as a weak punch out possibility into the Pacific. And so this was how ISIS and the Abu Sayyaf, as well as the NPA, developed a lot of their financing for arms. And I think that's one possibility. The other is that the Philippines is very rich country in terms of resources, in terms of critical minerals like nickel and oil and gas. And so I think that, as well as its seabed resources, its fish, its food, and so forth, which China needs. So I think that's where that's the incentive that China has. China is trying to push a fracture within the Philippines to get the United States out of the way. So that opens up the Bashi Channel and the Luzon Strait in the northern part of the country to whatever they want to do with Taiwan. And this business that the Marcos administration has done by pulling or getting the United States back involved is really causing problems for Beijing.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of fractures, so President Marcos has a sister who's also a senator, Amy Marcos, and she has a pretty different take on how the Philippines ought to respond to China, especially when it comes to the U.S. So what's going on with that split?
Well, Matt, that is one of the really sophisticated fractures, political fractures within the country. Amy Marcos and her brother, Bong Bong or Ferdinand Marcos Jr., the president, are not really on speaking terms. And her perspective is, look, you get the Americans in there, and then we become a target. And this is blowing up a lot of our business and other relationships with China. And if that perspective, Matt, sounds familiar to you, that's because there is a very close relationship between Amy Marcos and former President Rodrigo Duterte's daughter, Sarah. So Sarah Duterte and Amy Marcos have a good relationship. And I believe that Amy Marcos has, if not presidential, vice presidential ambitions in the future. And so there is an alliance in opposition to the brother that is forming. So that's why you see that political crack that exists in the Philippines. It's developing, and that's why China is pushing on that issue so hard to try to make it difficult for Marcos in the upcoming midterm elections next spring.